Welcome to Decoding the Childcare Business. My name is Zuleika Hines, your host, and I'm so glad that you are here now for our episode on staff retention deep dives. If you recall, we spent a lot of time in the first session decoding the childcare industry. And what does that mean for staff retention? What does that mean for us as we're entering into the summer months? And staffing is a place that gives us anxiety, makes us feel overwhelmed. And oftentimes we feel like, oh my God, I don't want to deal with a confrontation. And in the beginning of our first episode, we talked about that amazing report about Judith Briles that she wrote in her key work, Women to Women, From Sabotage to Support, when she talked about confrontation, saying that 80% of women surveyed admitted they would rather do almost anything than have a direct face-to-face confrontation in the workforce. So we're going to pick up from where we left off, and we're going to get ahead of that, right? We are empowered from the last two series. We're going to take a deep breath. We're here because we want to have a successful business. We love the business that we're in. And for me, that was the greatest satisfaction, loving what I did every single day. But there are some parts of the childcare daycare business that did give me palpitations, and it had to do with staff. So before we take it any further, we have our disclosure. This content presented is for informational and educational purposes only and does not constitute financial, tax, legal, or investment advice. Always consult a licensed professional, financial advisor, CPA, or attorney for advice tailored to your specific situation. All investment in knowledge pays the best interest. Benjamin Franklin. So as we go into day interviews, let's recap what we talked about last week. The real cost of replacement one teacher is between $2,500 to $5,000. And it's not just the cost, it's the time that takes to replace a teacher. We discussed the crucial component of the first 90 days, where the retention begins. And it is important that we ensure that we have calendar reminders in the first 30, 31 to 60, 61, 90 days for us to be able to do all that we need to do to make sure that we retain, we look to develop, or we're going to transition as staff. Where are you in the trajectory with a team member? How is the team gelling with the classroom? Let's move it forward. We talked about the stay interview. Why wait until they leave? And that's what we're going to talk right now. The stay interview. Why wait until they leave? Why is a stay interview? And the questions to ask. By the way, before we go any further, if you're enjoying this conversation, if you're enjoying this episode, please don't forget to subscribe and like. Your comments help me understand your needs and where you want to go next. I look forward to speaking with you. And without further ado, let's dive right in. Let's decode the stay interview. What are stay interviews? Folks, 20 to 40% of organizations that perform stay interviews state that the staff will stay with them longer. Organizations with stay interviews, they see a 20 to 40% lower turnover. A stay interview is a great way to lower your turnover, but also to get a sense of what you need to consider. The stay interview, you may say, is a structured one-on-one conversation with another person in your team where you'd ask about, how are you feeling? What are the ways that I can help you? Can you tell me about ways that I can improve your satisfaction in your role? What will make your job better? Have you thought about leaving? Where do you see yourself growing here and in the future? What are your goals? To understand what keeps that employee engaged and what may push them out the door. So when you perform a stay interview, you are really exploring with that employee how they're feeling about the role and ways that you can align your organization with their expectation and goals. So it's like an alignment call. It's an alignment conversation. And this is great. I implemented annual reviews in my program, and I found those annual reviews were like a stay interview as well. It allowed me to see where the staff was, what they needed, what challenges were approaching that summer, if they had children or they had parents that they care for. It allowed me to understand if they had any support for those children or families, and how I can marry the two. Maybe the children will come to the program for the summer. And because my summer enrollment was lower, I had more capacity to absorb that. And that's something we spoke on our prior episode on staffing, The exit interview, which also is something that should be done. Now there's different ways you can do it. You can do the exit interview by sending them an online survey through Google Docs, where you can put some questions together to understand why they were leaving and what are the ways that you can strengthen your organization. It may not be for that individual. That individual may already have their mind made up and already decide to leave, but it's good for the current employees. And you can even take one of the questions and dive deeper to decode what are the ways that you can improve your program to retain the staff that you currently have. It matters, folks. It matters for you to get this information. A lot of daycare, childcare providers say, well, I'm too small. I don't have that many teachers. And then you just end up repeating the same mistake over and over again. Why would you want to do that? Why don't you look at the situation that you have and don't take it as a personal affront on you and the organization? Take it as a way for you to improve your program. And this is so key because now you're looking for them to be open and provide you with concrete examples. It will reveal if it's about a pay issue or it's a culture issue or a leadership issue. It may not be your leadership, but it might be the elite teacher in your program that is just creating a churn of staffing moving in and out of the classroom. You may have an excellent teacher that doesn't have the leadership skills. So it might be that you need to invest more time and more training on that head teacher to develop quality leadership skills to be able to navigate staffing and to be able to support teams that come in. Remember, a head teacher is being asked to manage a classroom, manage parents, children, different staffing personality, and the director's request, she or he is like a middle manager. It's hard to be a middle manager. And oftentimes we say, well, we're paying them this salary, they should take that on. But their skills and trainings does not equip them to how to handle a team. There are many, many middle managers that got the role of leading a team without the support and the training on how to deal and support people. It's not something that is learned through osmosis. It must be taught through training and workshops, and it must be intentional. And that's why I had leadership trainings with just my lead teachers, so they can learn more about themselves, so they can be better leaders for their teams and better leaders for their children and their parents. Folks, this is critical. You cannot overlook the exit interview. And there's so many ways that you can carry this. You can do it, like I said, through Google Docs. You can sit one-on-one with the person, and it protects your reputation. Staff will feel heard even though they're leaving, will not leave with resentment. You might have the opportunity to explain yourself or some of your decisions that they may not have considered. And this changes the paradigm, allows them to see you for your humanity, and allows you to hear them and understand their position. We need to have our ears wide open, not only when they're coming in, but also as they're leaving. That is very important. If 3 or more staff is departing for the same reason, then it's not personal. It's something in the system. It's systematic. If you find 3 or more staff departing, then the issue is systemic. And some of those systemic issues you may not be able to correct, like salary ceilings or restrictions on schedules, or the fact that you had a great team, but a teacher calls out a lot and all the time. That might not be something that you can overlook. That might not be something that you can correct. However, at least you know that it exists and consider ways to unpack it further and over time lessen the impact by creating different strategies. Does that make sense? So what are some of the questions I should ask in my exit interview? And I hope you are taking a screenshot of this so you have this information. While you take a screenshot, I see many of you are listening, are tuning in. I appreciate it. I thank you from the bottom of my heart. But I need you to please subscribe to the button below and give me the thumbs up. Please share it with other colleagues and friends in the daycare industry or people who have children in the daycare industry. They may not understand what staffing is like inside the churn of running a childcare program, but hopefully the more people are informed about what the childcare industry is experiencing and how they're experiencing this, then the more we can come together as a community and support these amazing programs that are there to support you in the workforce. Here are the 5 questions to ask. What did you enjoy most about working here? What would you change about this workplace? What prompted your decision to leave? Was it something that just happened recently? Did it trigger it? Or was it something that was just evolving over time? Sometimes you're going to find out that staff is leaving because something may have happened a couple of months ago. Remember, again, the article about the author that spoke about teachers oftentimes take things personally in terms of criticism. And many teachers don't like confrontation. And so one of the confrontation avoidance is to quit the job and go somewhere else. And how can we get ahead of that so we don't have that same situation become a systematic problem in our program? That would be by the state interviews that I discussed. What prompted your decision to leave? And then would you recommend us to other educators? And what could we have done to keep you? That's very important. What could we have done to keep you? What are the ways that I can support your growth that would want you to stay here with us? The reason why I grew from one school to another school, it was because a lot of my staff was outgrowing the role and they were ready to be lead teachers or administrators in that capacity. So by opening up a second school, I was able to promote from within and give them roles that they were ready for because they knew the school, they knew the culture, they knew the parents, and it allowed them to position themselves for the next phase of their lives. It's important for you to consider a way to grow your team. But if you can't grow your team, what can you do? I'm so glad you asked. That's my next slide. Stay tuned. Don't worry. You like the little butterfly? I'm trying something new called Beyond the Basics from my desk. Take a moment. Not every person that's leaving you is a failure to you or your organization. Some of it is part of the plan. So how do we work that plan into our program so we can have a better flow that aligns with the summer and aligns with the program? I want to talk to you about why summer departures are a natural transition. One of the things that I ask my staff is that when I hire them, I ask them to commit to June. And the reason why I ask them to commit through June is because by them committing through June, it would help support the natural transition of children aging up to the next classroom, parents leaving to another town or another school, new children coming into the program. I was not of the mindset that every teacher needed to stay with me every year. I didn't believe in that. I felt that it added a lot of stress and anxiety to teachers in the program, and it also kept them from being honest and forefront with me about their goals and ambitions and their plans. So I never was the director that said, if I hire you, I need you to stay for 15 years, even though I did have staff that stayed for over a decade and 15 years during the duration of my program. But I didn't believe that I wanted to give them that pressure or give myself that pressure. However, instead, I asked them to commit for 9 months out of the school year. So why summer departures are a natural transition? Well, childcare as a stepping stone. You see, many teachers enter childcare to gain the hands-on experience required for full certification in other fields. You need to understand that and have your eyes wide open. Many teachers enter childcare to gain the hands-on experience required for full certification in other fields. What does that mean? To work in elementary education, to be a full-fledged social worker, to be a child psychologist. These are areas where having boots on the ground, working in that field with that particular age group is required to get your full certification. So I know that. I knew I was going to have teachers that came right out of college, right out of their associate's program, or in their master's program, that needed this experience to fulfill the requirement that they needed for certification. And in doing so, I was able to get ahead of it, get a quality teacher, a wonderful teacher, while simultaneously understanding their needs. So this was a situation where there was a symbiotic relationship. We both benefit from each other. And so then when I gave them the schedule for the school year, I said, can you at least stay through June? And can you make your departure either June, July, or August? June created a natural transition window that benefited everyone. And folks, many parents were unaware and are unaware that childcare programs, daycare centers are the stepping stones for the teacher to become certified and enter into other professions where the benefit and salary bandwidth is more than we can afford. So I also didn't want to keep teachers selfishly, knowing that they were entering into other fields that they would be better suited for a pension, medical coverage, scheduling, and time off that just was not in the bandwidth of my industry, in the childcare industry. Parents expect change also during the summer months. Even though they were leaving, it allowed me to hire new staff that were able to come in during the summer months, learn the program, learn the school philosophy and curriculum, and be ready to start in September fully equipped with the knowledge and understanding of the summer program, which was more casual, easier to handle, and not as strict in the deliverables that we had in place for the school year. So the natural transition was great for us. Sometimes good staff leaving is inevitable. And the question isn't if they'll go, it's when and how you manage it. So remember, a good staff leaving will be inevitable. However, the question isn't if they'll go, it's when and how you manage it when they do go. That's why having a natural transition is so important. But remember, what have you done already? Remember on the first part of this episode, we talked about the fact that you already understand the cost of hiring a new staff is very expensive. So you want to retain the good staff that you have by conducting a state interview, a checkpoint. You know that the first 90 days are very critical. And now you're also learning that in the exit interview, you can get information that can support you and help you create a better school for the following year. Because you understand as a director that you don't have to be afraid of what? I have it right here. You're not going to be afraid of confrontation because you're going to look at a way to develop and grow your school. And you understand that criticism is not personal, but is a way for us to become better stewards of the daycare and the childcare industry, right? So even though the study by Judith Briles brought up the systematic concerns that women predominantly have when dealing with face-to-face confrontation, as directors and administrators, we're going to know that. We're going to inhale, we're going to put it aside, and we're going to be professional and schedule time where these conversations can take place, one-on-one, safe zone established for both the exchange between the staff and yourself to create opportunities to better your staff retention at your program. Hiring window opens in the hiring window, new graduates and career changers into the market during the summer. So you have new staff coming in during the summer, staff that leave to pursue other fields, but by them staying through the summer and knowing that you have this transition occurring, guess what happens? Now you are ready to confront whatever comes next. And that's very important because now you are going to be in a place where you are taking charge and leading and understanding what to do in situations like this. I want to take a moment to thank you for watching this deep dive on staffing and staff retention. I hope you found this to your benefit. I hope you're able to implement some of these tools that I have shared with you in these episodes that we have dedicated to staffing. Thank you so much for joining me. My name is Zuleika Hines, Decoding the Childcare Business, and I cannot wait to meet you.